Hi guys, welcome back to Quality Shot Boxing. I'm Ali, and in today's video, we'll be talking about the three upcoming fights between Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall, Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius, and Devin Haney versus George Kambosos Jr. Sure, you guys probably spotted already a few seconds in that I'm still feeling down, I'm still feeling upset, and that's just because I'm still reeling from the devastation that the Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fight was cancelled, well, potentially postponed. But, ultimately the show must go on, and in today's video, we'll be talking about three great upcoming shows later this weekend. So without further ado, let's get into it. But just before we do so, guys, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. It really helps us, and it really helps us create more great content for you guys. So without further ado, let's begin. I'm going to start off talking about the Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall upcoming fight. This is going to be a very interesting fight for quite a few reasons. Clarissa Shields, everyone knows that she's the top name within women's boxing. Some saying she's probably the world's best female boxer, alongside perhaps Katie Taylor, even though they're in slightly different weight categories. But Clarissa Shields, based on her last, I'll be honest, and as controversial as this may sound, I never really liked Clarissa Shields. I thought she was very overrated. I thought she was just another boxer with a big mouth. But after seeing her last fight, I have to give credit where credit's due. I think she completely, not just outboxed, completely destroyed her opponent Kozin, which is very funny and ironic because if you're looking at it just purely from the professional records, at the time that they fought, Kozin had almost double the amount of fights in the professional paid ranks compared to Shields. So you would expect that within the professional ranks, Kozin would put up a greater fight, a much better fight. But, like I said, credit has to be given where credit is due. And we have seen Clarissa Shields' amateur career is absolutely stellar. She's won like 2 gold medals, a couple of world championships. She's won 2 consecutive gold medals at the London 2012 and at the Rio Olympics. And the ironic thing is, the only person to ever defeat her, the only person to ever defeat her in the amateur ranks is none other than Savannah Marshall. But based on the last fights, I think the way Shields fought, she fought with such an intensity, such hunger. She reminded me of a young Floyd Mayweather in that when prior to Mayweather becoming the defensive masterclass that the whole world has known him to become, he was very much in and out, aggressive, couple of powerful quick combos and out. Shields did the same thing, and I was watching her fight close, and I was thinking to myself, I was thinking to myself, man, she really deserves the hype. She was punching with so much intensity, so much aggression, combinations. She genuinely dominated the fight. Like, it's very rare for me to agree with so many commentators during the fight, but this is without a doubt one of the very few fights I wholeheartedly agree with. She absolutely destroyed Kozin. She absolutely battered her from pillar to post. The combinations she was throwing, how she commanded the center of the ring, her footwork, she was just so lethal. And eventually, ultimately, that would wear Kozin down. And with all due respect to Kozin, 21, 22 fights or so, she should have put up a much greater challenge to a much greater fight, a much greater resistance to Shields. But, ultimately the fight went for a unanimous decision and rightly so. And to be honest, I thought Shields should have knocked her out. I think there were times where Shields could have easily got in for the kill, and the times that she didn't, she should have ended the fight. But, ultimately the correct decision was given. Now, onto Marshall's last fight against Herman's. It was a brutal knockout. I think in the third or fourth round. I think it was the fourth round, third or fourth round. She threw very powerful hits, very powerful punches, and good combinations. But I was more so impressed with her footwork and her general IQ. in a fight against Herman. And it was one of those things where makes me think that if she fights someone like Shields, could Shields have too much power and aggression for her? Or would Marshall use her ring IQ? Would she able to control and dominate Shields? Shields is very much an aggressive fighter. Like she likes to go in and throw a few combinations and back out. So I think fighting someone like Marshall, on the face of it, you would think that Shields would have perhaps too much power and aggression for her for a fighter like Marshall. But Marshall, I think, would have the IQ, the ring intelligence to be able to keep Shields at bay, frustrate her. It'll be a very interesting fight to see what happens. I think it's definitely more so a battle of the ring IQ, ring intelligence, the fight plans. If Shields is able to make Marshall fight Shields' fight, it's Shields' fight to lose, and vice versa. If Marshall's able to use her ring IQ and ring craftsmanship to control the momentum and, for example, such as the center of the ring and how the fight goes, the momentum, how the shift moves, how it edges towards either fighter. I think it's something that Marshall could also do. It'll be a very interesting fight. I don't think that this could end in a knockout. I mean, both fighters have the strength, have the power to do so. But I think realistically, I just get the vibe, the feeling that this fight isn't going to end in a knockout. It may end in a drop or a slip or a few good dog scraps, dog fights where they go in and just throw lashes. They just lash at each other, combinations after combinations. But I don't think that it will end in a knockout. I think that this fight, I believe it's being fought in London. I think the OTS. I think this is going to. I think this may be edged towards Marshall, but I think Shields, if possible, could activate potentially a rematch clause if there is one in the contract. So it will be a very good fight to watch, very interesting fight to see how it pans out. Although I probably do edge Marshall slightly towards it, and maybe because I'm also British, so and I have that biasness. Who knows? Maybe I could be right, maybe I could be wrong. I mean, another key interesting fact is that they yes, I apologize, I did mention that they did find the amateurs. On to the next fight, the Wilder Helenius. Very interesting fight. I mean, I think without a doubt, this is going to be another victory for Wilder on his journey back up to the pinnacle of the echelon of current modern day heavyweight boxing. I think a fighter like Helenius is a very, very incredibly powerful puncher, very powerful fighter. And his last two fights against Adam Kaunaki, the punches, the power that he threw was absolutely unbelievable. The problem I think with Helenius, two things that could let his game plan down against Wilder, is that he keeps his arms down. In his fights with Kaunaki, he kept his arms down. I don't know if he's going to keep his arms up against Wilder, but I mean, that's a very, very incredibly dangerous thing to do against someone like Wilder. I mean, it's two things. You're either stupid and or brave. In fact, probably both. You're stupid and brave to keep your arms down, because if Wilder comes up with one of his trademark right crosses or so, you're out, you are finished. Wilder is without a shadow of a doubt the hardest hitting heavyweight in the current heavyweight division, and quite possibly of all time. And yes, I am saying Wilder is one of the hardest hitting heavyweights of all time, and I'm putting him in the same league as Tyson, as the Foremans, as the Shavers, as the Listons. He's an incredibly powerful puncher, and all it takes is just one punch, absolutely just one punch. It can spell night. So Helenius has got to be very careful of that. Another thing about Helenius is that I feel he's a bit slow in his punches, and I think he's going to weigh. I think his body type, his physique against a fighter like Wilder isn't necessarily going to help him. But having said that, we've seen that especially within the heavyweight division, the shape of your body does not count. We've seen Ruiz destroy Joshua. We've seen Tyson Fury destroy Wilder. twice, or in my opinion, three times, but especially in the last two fights. I mean, in fact, in the third fight, he piled on the weight. He piled on the weight, and he absolutely smashed Wilder. So again, it will be interesting. It will be an interesting fight to see. Even though both fighters possess very much, great knockout power, I'm going to go against my previous prediction with the Shields Marshall fight, and I'm going to predict that this fight is going to end in a knockout fight, definitely or most likely in favor of Wilder. If Wilder loses this fight, then it's going to be an incredibly tough route back for him to reach the highest levels to fight for another world title shot. Although having said that, recently Tyson Fury has released a statement saying that people should not rule out a fourth fight between him and Wilder if the fight with Usyk doesn't get made, or if the fight with Joshua doesn't get made, and he has no option but to fight Wilder. So it would be a very interesting fight again once it actually happens. It'll be interesting to see how the careers of both fighters pans out. I mean, if Helenius puts up a very good fight and he just about loses, whether on a split decision or he dominates the fight for such a long period of time, say the later rounds, but he unfortunately gets knocked out by Wilder, it will be interesting to see how he pans out. Could he fight Wilder again? Is there a rematch clause invoked? Would Wilder give him another rematch? I mean, we've seen with the first Fury Wilder fight how, even though it was a draw, Wilder allowed Fury to invoke the rematch clause. Could this be another situation? If Wilder feels that if he gets a decision, or if he knocks out Helenius, but he gets dominated throughout the entirety of the fight, could he feel embarrassment that he allowed that to happen? And does he want to prove another point by allowing Helenius to invoke the rematch clause? We have to wait and see. On to the last fight of this spectacular weekend of boxing is the Devin Haney Kambosos fight, not fight number 2, in fact. Again, credit has to be given where credit's due. I feel like I'm saying this too much, but it has to be said because both fights are taking place in Australia. The first fight, Haney fought Kambosos, correct if I'm wrong, and when Kambosos had the titles, and that's where Haney became like the undisputed, or I think he became the undisputed world champion in the lightweight division. He's fighting him once again. He's fighting the Australian fighter in Australia. He's fighting him once again in his own backyard. Is Haney trying to prove a point, or is he trying to prove a point to people, saying that perhaps the first fight, the decision of the first fight, in my opinion, it was much closer than people perhaps thought. I know Haney got the decision, and rightfully so, but I think it was very close. I think there were times where Kambosos really stuck it on Haney, and he troubled Haney. There were some times where he really stuck it on him, and he showed Haney that he's not a pushover, he's not a doormat to be walked all over. And I think potentially with this second fight, Kambosos certainly wants to get revenge. Once again, he has a chance to do it in Australia's home, in his own backyard. Having said that, I think Haney is a genuine. I don't think he's ducking anyone. I think he's got the bravery to say, you know what, I won the titles off of you in your own backyard. I'm going to prove to everyone that I can do this once again, and I'm going to send a statement out in the lightweight division, in my division, that I am the guy to beat. I've beaten you twice. I've beaten the same guy twice in his own backyard. Once to win the title, and the other to prove that I deserve to win so. It kind of reminds me of Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston. He won the titles off Liston, and I believe one of his very next fight, or I think one of his next few fights, he beat Liston once again when he was the world champion. The infamous ghost punch. I have the post up somewhere in my room, but it just proves the point that I beat you to win the titles, and now I can beat you to cement my position that yes, I rightfully won it. I deserve to win it. And not just that, he's going to send a statement out to the rest of the division. And he's going to put fighters like potentially, Shakur Stevenson, potentially maybe Garcia as well, Tank Davis. I mean, I understand maybe slightly different weight divisions, but very similar. And we see it all the time where boxers move up and down different weight divisions. Could all of these guys finally catch weight? These lighter weights are becoming very, very much more interesting, and with the sudden explosion of social media, so much hype and attention is being directed towards it. So boxing is definitely on the come up once again. It's definitely rising back up to the top, in my opinion. And it's just going to be an excellent night of boxing, guys. Before I forget to mention, we will be doing a live watch along for all of these fights. We'll be watching the Clarissa Shields Marshall fight, as well as at the Baumgartner. I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced her name. The Baumgartner fight just beforehand, as well as the Clarissa Shields Marshall fight. Then we'll be during the same live. We'll be watching the live watch along for the Wild Helenius fight, and obviously in the same one, just to round off the night, excellent night, hours of boxing, entertaining hours of boxing, the Haney Kambosos fight number 2. So guys, that's my opinions done for this video. Once again, if I've said anything that you disagree with, or you think that maybe he's got a point, let me challenge it. Please let me know down below in the comments. Please let all of us know down in the comments below. And if you don't get to comment down below, please do join us for the watch along. I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining couple of hours, so well worth you guys staying up. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, and hopefully see you in the next video and see you in the next live.